The night Emily Parker pretended to be broke while secretly preparing to sign a $10 billion deal, she never imagined her own husband would throw her out of their house and marry his pregnant mistress the very same week. She thought she was testing his loyalty. Instead, she destroyed the last illusion of who he truly was. And what she did next would shock everyone. If this story already feels crazy, tap the like button right now. Click subscribe, and share this story with someone who believes in loyalty, because this only gets darker from here. It all happened in San Jose, California, just outside Silicon Valley, where billion-dollar deals were made quietly in glass buildings every day. Inside a small, outdated two-bedroom house at the edge of town, Emily Parker sat at the kitchen table, staring at her phone. On the screen was an encrypted message. Ms. Parker, the final contract is approved. $10 billion acquisition. Signature scheduled in 72 hours. $10 billion. Emily's hands trembled. She was about to become one of the most powerful women in American tech. But no one in her life knew that. Not even her husband. Emily had built a private software company in secret with investors who trusted her quiet genius. For years, she lived modestly on purpose. Old clothes. Used car. Simple house. Even her husband believed she was just a low-level project assistant at a startup. That was intentional. Because Emily was running a test. A painful one. She wanted to know who loved her for real. Her husband, Jason Parker, had changed over the past year. Late nights. Secret calls. Expensive gifts that didn't match his salary. But Emily stayed silent. Until the night everything broke. Jason walked into the kitchen, loosening his tie. "We need to talk," he said coldly. Emily looked up. "About what?" "I'm tired of carrying this marriage," he snapped. "You're broke. You contribute nothing. And I'm done pretending I don't deserve better." Emily felt her heart tighten. "I work. I try." Jason laughed. "You make nothing. You are nothing." She stood up slowly. "Jason, what's really going on?" He didn't answer. Instead, the front door opened. And in walked Rachel Cole. His mistress. Pregnant. Wearing a designer coat. Emily froze. Rachel placed a hand on her belly with a proud smile. "Surprise." Jason exhaled. "She's 5 months along." Emily felt the world tilt. "You cheated on me," she whispered. Jason scoffed. "I upgraded." At that moment, Emily understood something deep and painful. Her test was already over. 2 days later, Jason served her divorce papers. 1 week later, he kicked her out of the house and married his pregnant mistress in a small luxury ceremony. Emily watched everything unfold from a motel room with one suitcase and a cracked mirror. She had $114 left in her checking account. And she smiled quietly. Because in 48 hours, she would sign the deal that would change the entire tech industry. Meanwhile, Jason was celebrating. His wedding guests laughed in a vineyard near Napa Valley, sipping wine and praising the smart move he had made. Rachel leaned into him. "You're about to live a real life now," she whispered. Jason nodded proudly. "No more broke woman dragging me down." 3 nights later, Emily stood in front of a full-length mirror inside a private executive suite in downtown San Francisco. Her hair was styled. Her posture was strong. A black executive dress hung perfectly on her frame. Her personal legal team waited outside the room. She looked at her reflection and whispered, "The test is over." If this betrayal already makes your blood boil, drop a comment right now. What would you do if your spouse did this to you? And don't forget to like and share this story so others can see what's coming. Across the city, Jason and Rachel returned from their honeymoon to his house, now hers too. Rachel inspected the living room with satisfaction. "You really lived like this with her," she laughed. "This place is ugly." Jason shrugged. "Doesn't matter. We'll upgrade soon." Just then, Jason's phone buzzed. An unknown number. Unknown. "You should have waited before celebrating." Jason frowned. "Who's this?" No reply. That same night, in a glass tower overlooking the bay, Emily placed her signature on the final page of a thick contract. Cameras flashed. Lawyers smiled. The lead investor shook her hand. "Welcome to the billionaire's table, Ms. Parker." $10 billion. In silence, Jason slept peacefully that night, unaware that his entire world was already shifting under his feet, unaware that the woman he had humiliated now controlled a financial force that could erase him from every future he imagined. The next morning, Jason would wake up famous, but not as the man who upgraded, as the man who lost everything. Jason woke up the next morning in his new bed beside Rachel, feeling proud of himself. For the first time in years, he believed he had finally escaped poverty. His phone buzzed non-stop on the nightstand. He groaned and picked it up. 29 missed calls, all from unknown numbers. Then a text message came in from his former co-worker. "Jason, turn on the news. Right now." Annoyed, he grabbed the remote and switched on the TV. The screen froze him in place. Breaking news: Silicon Valley startup acquired for $10 billion. Mystery founder revealed. Jason leaned forward. The camera shifted. A woman stepped up to the podium. Long dark hair, calm eyes, a black executive dress. His heart stopped. It was Emily. The reporter's voice continued. Sources confirm that Emily Parker, previously unknown in the public eye, is the sole founder and owner of the tech firm Aurora Systems, now officially acquired for $10 billion. Jason dropped the remote. "No, no, no," he whispered. Rachel shot up in bed. "What is it?" He couldn't speak. Rachel looked at the screen. Her face turned white. That's your ex-wife." Jason's hands began to shake uncontrollably. Rachel backed away from him slowly. "You told me she was nothing. You said she was useless." Jason whispered in horror. She was pretending. Across the bay in downtown San Francisco, Emily stood in a private conference room surrounded by lawyers, investors, and security. Her phone buzzed non-stop. Unknown numbers. Jason's number. She didn't answer. Her lead attorney leaned closer. "The media is digging into your personal life. They already found your marriage records." Emily's eyes hardened. "Let them. If this reveal shocked you, like this video right now. Comment what you think Jason deserves. And share this story. The real fallout is just beginning." Back at the house, Rachel grabbed her coat. "This changes everything," she said coldly. Jason panicked. "Wait. You married a woman worth $10 billion and threw her out like trash," Rachel snapped. "Do you know what kind of man that makes you?" She pulled her hand free and headed for the door. "You're on your own now." The door slammed. Jason stood there alone. Married. Ruined. And suddenly famous for all the wrong reasons. His phone rang again. This time, it wasn't the media. It was his bank. "Mr. Parker, your accounts have been frozen due to multiple fraud alerts." "What?" Jason shouted. "There must be a mistake." "There is no mistake," the agent replied. "Several large transactions connected to your name are now under federal review." The call ended. Jason felt dizzy. At the same time, Emily sat in the back of a luxury car as it moved silently through the city. Her assistant spoke carefully. "Jason has been trying to reach you for over an hour." Emily stared out the window. "He kicked me out with nothing." "Yes, She finally picked up her phone. Not to answer him, but to send one message. "Emily, you chose your path. Now I choose mine." She blocked him. Jason raced outside and looked around his quiet street. For the first time in his life, he felt truly afraid. And then his phone buzzed again. This time, the caller ID read, "Federal Investigation Unit." His breath caught in his throat. Jason answered the call with trembling hands, unaware that this was only the beginning of his real punishment. Jason's hands were shaking so badly he almost dropped the phone. "Mr. Parker," the voice on the other end said calmly, This is Agent Robert Mills with the Federal Investigation Unit. You are required to answer a few questions regarding ongoing financial activities connected to your name. Jason swallowed hard. I don't know anything about any investigation. That's not what our records show, the agent replied. We will be sending officers to your location within the next 24 hours. Do not leave the city. The line went dead. Jason slid down against the front door and hit the floor. 24 hours. That was all he had. Across the city in downtown San Francisco, Emily stepped out of a black luxury SUV in front of a glass tower that reached into the clouds. Reporters shouted her name from behind barricades. Ms. Parker, did your husband really throw you out before the deal? Emily didn't slow down. Inside the building, her legal team waited. One of the lawyers opened a file and looked at her seriously. Jason has been moving money under your name for over 8 months, he said. Fake consulting fees. Shell accounts. We believe he funded many personal expenses through that channel. Emily's heart tightened. So that means, she said slowly, he didn't just betray you emotionally, the lawyer continued. He committed federal fraud using your identity. Emily closed her eyes. She had tested his loyalty. Now the law would test his freedom. Jason spent the rest of the day calling anyone who would pick up. Old friends. Former co-workers. Even distant relatives. No one helped. His mother refused his call. His former boss told him to never contact him again. By evening, he drove to Napa Valley where Rachel was staying with a friend. When she opened the door and saw him, her face hardened. Go away, she said. I'm in trouble, Jason whispered. Real trouble. Rachel laughed nervously. You think you're in trouble? I married a man who threw away a billionaire and lied to everyone. I need you, he begged. Rachel placed one hand on her belly. I need security. And you don't have it anymore. She slammed the door in his face. Jason stood in the dark driveway, breakable and alone. If you were Emily, would you show mercy at this point, or let the law take everything? Comment your answer now. Like this video if you believe betrayal deserves consequences, and share this story because what happens next will shock you. That night, Jason sat alone in his car outside a closed gas station. His phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. Unknown. You have one last chance to contact her. He didn't need to ask who her was. He drove across the bay in silence, tears blurring the road. By midnight, he stood outside a luxury hotel where Emily was staying under heavy security. He fell to his knees in front of the entrance. Security guards rushed forward. She's my wife, Jason cried. Please. Just tell her I'm here. One guard disappeared inside. Minutes passed. Then the guard returned. She says she has nothing to say to you, he said coldly. Jason's chest broke open. Please, he whispered. Just 5 seconds. The guard shook his head. It's time to leave. Jason was dragged away from the entrance as his body went limp. Inside the hotel, Emily stood behind the glass window, watching from a distance. She did not cry. The next morning, news broke across California. Former husband of tech billionaire under federal review for identity fraud. Jason's photo was everywhere. By afternoon, unmarked cars pulled up near his rented room. Men in dark jackets stepped out. Jason opened the door slowly. Jason Parker, one of them asked. Yes, he whispered. You are under investigation for federal financial crimes, the agent said. You'll need to come with us. Jason's knees gave out. At the same time, Emily sat in a high-rise office overlooking the bay with her father's financial partners. A document was pushed in front of her. Do you want us to proceed with the civil lawsuit as well? The senior attorney asked. This will destroy him completely. Permanently. Emily stared at the page. Her mind flashed back to cold leftovers. To being thrown out. To watching him marry another woman. To sleeping alone in a motel with nothing. She lifted her eyes. File it, she said quietly. That single signature would not only decide Jason's future. It would decide whether he ever saw freedom again. The courtroom in San Francisco was packed. News cameras lined the walls. Reporters whispered. Strangers filled the benches, all waiting to see the man who had thrown away a $10 billion wife. Jason Parker was led in wearing gray prison clothes, his hands cuffed in front of him. His face was hollow. Across the room, Emily sat calmly with her legal team. She wore a simple cream-colored suit. No jewelry. No show of wealth. Only quiet power. Jason looked up and saw her. Hope flashed in his eyes. Then he saw her expression. And that hope died. The judge entered. The room stood. The charges were read slowly and clearly. Federal identity fraud. Financial manipulation. Illegal transfers. Conspiracy to commit financial theft. Each charge felt heavier than the last. Jason's lawyer tried to argue that Jason had acted out of panic and misguided ambition. Then Emily's lawyer stood up. "Your Honor," she said, "the defendant abandoned my client while she was homeless. He used her identity without consent. He stole from her future while she was sleeping in a motel with nothing." The courtroom went silent. Then the prosecutor played recordings. Bank calls. Transfer approvals. False digital signatures. Jason lowered his head. The judge finally turned to Emily. "Ms. Parker," he said gently, "do you wish to proceed with the full civil case, or accept the federal-only ruling?" Everyone held their breath. Jason dropped to his knees. "I loved you," he cried. "I was stupid. I was scared. Please, don't end me like this." Emily stood up slowly. Her voice was calm. "You didn't love me," she said. "You loved what you thought I could never become." She looked at the judge. "I proceed with everything." The gavel struck once. Jason collapsed in tears. 3 months later, Jason was sentenced to 18 years in federal prison. The civil case stripped him of every asset he ever touched. The Vineyard wedding photos vanished from the internet. Rachel disappeared from society. Her child was born without Jason present. And no one spoke his name anymore. One quiet morning, Emily stood in a private hospital in Palo Alto, holding her newborn daughter. Her father stood beside her. "You lost a husband," he said softly. Emily looked at her child and smiled. "I lost a lie," she answered. "And I gained my life." Months passed. Emily returned to Silicon Valley as one of the most powerful women in tech. But she never spoke about the deal. And she never spoke about Jason. She bought the old house they once lived in. Not to live there, but to tear it down. She built a small shelter for women who had been abandoned, cheated on, and left with nothing. Above the door, she placed a simple sign. "You are not invisible." One evening, Emily received a single letter from prison. It was from Jason. She didn't open it. She walked to the fireplace, placed the letter inside, and watched it burn. Then she turned and walked away without looking back. Jason chased status and lost his soul. Rachel chased comfort and lost security. But Emily lost everything. And rose with the truth. Now I want to hear from you. Do you think Emily was right to destroy Jason completely? Or should she have walked away in silence? Drop your opinion into comments. I read them all. If this story shocked you, smash the like button. Share this story with someone who believes in loyalty, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more powerful stories like this every week.